Welcome to This Week in Morgan County. I'm your host, Russell Mokhiber. Our guests this week, Joyce Morningstar and Lee Barron. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are founders of the Town of Bath Community Garden.
That's
What
correct.
What is that?
It is a garden that serves the public. It is a local garden that produces nutrient-dense food. We use no chemical fertilizer. It's all done naturally.
Where is it?
Just to the right of Town Hall.
Right
The town
in
of Bath.
the Town of Bath?
Yes.
How long has it been in existence?
This is the third year.
And what gave you the idea to do it?
Well, it started as a inquiry into developing a municipal compost system for the town of Bath and Morgan County in a larger perimeter. And we discovered the soil there was just wonderful, and we asked if we could start a garden there because the soil was already in good shape for that. So we didn't have to do any composting.
And it's Town of Bath property?
Yes.
Joyce, is this free food for people?
Yes, anybody can come to the garden. Anybody can help us out, or they can just come and pick up vegetables. And so right now we just have some spinach and some onions and things, but as the season progresses, every Monday and Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m., people can come and get vegetables of some kind, or herbs or whatever.
And over the previous 2 years, what has been the profile of people who come and get free food?
Well, a lot of people are from Wilk Street. You know, we're right there next to the town hall on Wilk Street. So our neighbors come and get things. There are people from around the community who come and help, and they take food home with them too, you know. And there are people who come when we're not there too, and the tomatoes especially, they were the hot item, so.
What is in the garden?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, there's,
Well, you have an orchard up top and a vegetable garden down below. Let's start with the vegetable garden.
yeah, well, we've planted peas and we've put in cabbage and some chard and onions, and there's garlic that we planted last fall. There are herbs that are growing beautifully. We've still got some spinach from last year. We'll be planting potatoes soon, and we're going to do sweet potatoes, and of course we do a lot of tomatoes and greens and peppers, and that's about it.
What's in the orchard?
There are 3 peach trees that came out of our compost, and they're doing beautifully. They're amazing looking trees. And there's a beautiful plum tree right next to the pond. There's a beautiful pond that's part of the water catchment system. And then we have 2 apples and 1 donated tree that we're not sure if it's a pear or an apple yet. And today we're going up to get a sweet cherry tree. So that'll complete the orchard. And then we have berries underneath those trees too, as understory, like blueberries, and we've got raspberries at the back. There are service berries and elderberries.
Wait, what's a service berry?
It's a native tree that's blooming right now in the woods of Morgan County, and it's a blueberry type berry that the birds love, and I love them too, so it's a race to see who gets them.
Speaking of the birds, what is your history of animal problems, groundhogs, deer, birds, coming after the food?
Well, we don't have that many problems, really. Since we put the fence up, that was the first thing we had to do, was to define the area and put the fence up, because deer wander down through there, there are dogs wandering through there, there are cats, and now pretty much we don't have any groundhog problems and very few pest problems there. It's really better than at our house out on Pius Ridge. So.
And you have a farm out on Pius Ridge too. I mean, you do farming there.
Yeah, it's a mini farm. It's
Mini.
2 acres. Yeah.
And you grow your own food. Do you sell food from there?
No.
No.
No. We give it away. Or I can a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Lee, why is the soil so good at the Town of Bath Community Garden?
That's a good question, and I'm prepared to answer that. The mountain has created this roll down off itself over a long period of time. That's the first reason. is the sand has become inoculated with microscopic organisms. And also there's a measure of composting that's done on its own. It also holds the moisture, which creates the basic format. And then the other thing is no one ever gardened there. So there's been no depletion whatsoever with that soil zone.
I understand that the first year you actually had to haul water
That's correct.
in buckets. How have you solved the water problem?
We asked permission.
Well, wait, there was no hoses or anything like that?
We don't use chlorinated water, so it was up to us to get rainwater from our house and from the spring downtown in the trough. So it was no chlorinated sources. Then we asked permission of the town of Bath if we could install a water tank and farm water off their roof line. So we installed that last year. That was a major addition at last year's process. And now, so we have on-site water, which is wonderful. No hauling.
It's a huge tank, yeah.
And this is a volunteer effort.
Yes.
And tell us about the volunteers and also how you've managed. I mean, this is quite expensive to do this, including the fencing and so forth. How you've managed to raise funds. Who's been helping you?
Well, the whole community has pitched in various ways. McCaff, the Morgan County Association for Food and Farms, they have kind of been our nonprofit parent organization. So if people want to donate to a nonprofit, they can do it through McCaff. And BB&T, the bank, Denise, the manager, she and I are good buds. So when she heard about the community garden, she was like, well, we do a $1,000 donation to some organization in the community every year. And so they gave us the initial $1,000 to get the fence going. So that was wonderful. And then we got another donation through another friend in Baltimore, and he wanted to see this kind of helping people learn about organic gardening and feeding the masses and all of that. So he gave us $1,000 too. So that has helped tremendously for, tools and wheelbarrows and, all the things that need to happen for it.
It's really fascinating because there you are right in the middle of town offering free food. Is there a model for free food community gardens that you saw elsewhere that you worked off of? Or is this common? It's rare to see this.
Yeah, and it's weird for people to accept it too. A lot of people are like, it's okay for me to come and take food? I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And there are many, many different community gardens all over the country. I used to be a part of one in Oregon, and I was a part of one other places too. But it was like everybody had their little plot that you rented.
Right, and
Yeah.
when I was growing up, my mom
Yeah.
had that. There was
Yeah.
Somebody had a public space
Yeah.
where everybody took a plot and you gardened it and took the food for yourself.
Right.
This is a different model, though.
It is a different model, and it's all of us working together on the one garden and sharing the produce. And so we give it to whoever wants it, and
Have you had any problems with people abusing it?
no, not at all.
And have you seen use increase over the years?
Well, yeah, more people are finding out about us, and it's a food desert right there. The only place to buy food is 7-Eleven right there.
Well, community garden market also.
Right, community garden market is great, yeah. But as far as people growing food, not much going on in that area. So it's really great to have, fresh cucumbers and, all of that.
Let's talk about the orchard a little bit. Where did you get the trees and the berries to plant there? Is this from your place on Pius Ridge?
Some of it is. And then we had this donation thing happening where people would give us $50 and we would put a memorial plate and they would donate a tree in somebody's honor. And so people have done that. And that's how most of the trees got paid for, that we had to go to the nursery to buy because we wanted really good stock. So.
It's such a contrast to the food at Food Lion. which is shipped in from sometimes internationally on these giant ships, and very little organic food at Food Lion. And I would guess that the people in town are not familiar generally with organic food. Have you found that, or has it been like an educational process?
Yeah, it's definitely been an education thing. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's actually become a higher profiled role for the garden these days, is the aspect of education. How to do it. I also introduce people who want to learn about doing sugar counts on all the produce that comes out of the garden, whether it's tree-borne or in the ground annuals. So yeah, it's...
When you say sugar counts, do you mean what?
It's called bricks counts in the industry, which started in the wine business and moved to the orange groves, and now it's open to anyone who chooses to use a refractometer to measure the nutrient density of the food, is what you're doing.
You know you're doing good if your bricks counts are up.
Right. Tell us about the community response to the food. I mean, one of the things that I found was what you just said. Wow, free food. But are people actually using it? Like, have you come across people who've decided that they're not going to go to Food Lion and just is it possible to live off the garden for their vegetables?
Well, one single person could probably get, enough for their week out of the garden. But there are many people sharing it. So, it depends on who shows up on the day when we have vegetables. Like last year we had 30 pounds of cucumbers every Monday and every Thursday, and it was like cucumber heaven.
Yeah, and probably the same with tomatoes, right?
At different times. Although people come in and got the tomatoes when they were ripe, so I had very few tomatoes to pick until it was closing down the season, time to can.
And on planting, do you plant to the community? In other words, do you plant things that have been heavily used in the past? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, what people want. I know they want tomatoes, and I know they'll use cucumbers, and they use everything pretty much. And potatoes are a big one, and sweet potatoes were a big hit. So we'd like to plant more of those this year. And TJ, who's the chief of police, he's very interested in the garden. So he loves the paste tomatoes, so I'm growing those for him this year.
So you have your own built-in security also. the Town of Bath Police,
yes.
Chief.
Yeah. And we have Bo and Melody who live next door too, and they have a porch that looks right down on there, and she knows what's going on in the garden all the time.
What do you do with surplus?
Well, it goes home with whoever's there volunteering. If people don't take it, then I take it home, or Caroline takes it home and we can, or dry, whatever. Doesn't go to waste.
Now, I have a garden where I live, and a big issue for me is animals. Now, we talked a little bit about animals, but I want to get into it a little more. Is the reason you don't have an issue with animals because you're in town? They're not deer there. You don't see deer there. You don't see groundhogs, or what? Because I want to learn from how you do it.
There are a lot fewer problems in town, yes, because it is a town and there are cars and there's not as much access to. I mean, it's right up against the mountain, so the deer could come right off of the mountain and come down, but then they hit the fence. And I've never seen even a deer on the property. Have you?
We've only heard that they come down, but we haven't seen them personally. They come off the mountain and come all the way down to the yards on that side of the street.
When you thought of this idea, what was your vision, and has it pretty much met? Has it accomplished what you wanted it to accomplish, or do you have further goals for it?
I'm happy how it's rolling out. I had an idea, and I want the idea to develop, but I'm not determined that it be a certain way. I kind of like how it's rolling out and how people are showing up. We had a man with 8 children show up last week, and so we had a lot of children that come in and they start to understand that they can do a direct pick. They don't have to go to the grocery store to buy food.
From
so.
Morgan County, or this
Yeah.
is a gentleman
this
from
Morgan County
with
resident.
8 children?
So we never know from week to week who's going to show up and how it's going to roll out in terms of, is it people that already know how to garden, or is it people that need to learn? A little bit of mixture of both.
Yeah, and he saw the article in the newspaper, so that's how he got tuned into it. My email was in there. And we also have a Facebook page too,
And what is that?
Town of Bath Community Garden
Okay.
on Facebook. Yeah.
Lee, let's go back, because these kinds of public institutions take a lot of hard work. But I'm interested in, when you came up with the idea, how did you identify where it was going to be, and how did you secure the property for it?
The mayor at the time gave us a tour of Town of Bath, principal land ownership, and what plots were available.
Did you go to the county also, or did you decide?
I did not go to the county. I really liked the idea of working with the Town of Bath. So with a review of all the different areas where the property is available, this really was the best location in terms of security, quality of the soil, how much work it's going to take to get it up and running. So we had a good review, and good. It was like 5 parcels of ground that were available.
And this is the one you like because of the soil.
Yes.
What do you do about nutrients and fertilizer?
I do a soil test each year, and I'm more or less an amateur soil analyst, and I'm able to break that out and understand exactly what the soil needs. And so I go through a foliar and also a soil soak process every year, which I'm still in the process of doing now. And my goal is to keep the soil fertile. Once I get it to a certain level, I want permanent fertility. So every year it gets a return of compost, and I do a review of a mineral analysis, and I'll add and make adjustments. That's what I do with it.
And where do you get the compost? Do you bring it from your property where you are?
A percentage of it comes, I do most of the processing there simply because my facility is up and running well.
Okay.
I do storage at the community garden, and also any of the plant stock that comes out at the end of the season and during the season goes back into the composting bins, which are above the orchard. So any of the material that's there does not leave. It more or less stays and is regenerated and returned to the soil.
When I visited last year, I was a little embarrassed for myself because it was such a beautiful garden. And the produce was so gorgeous compared to mine. And I said to myself, this is how I justified it. Well, they have beautiful soil, and I've got traditional Morgan County soil, which is, as anybody knows who lives around here and does anything with soil, sort of rocky, and you got to add a lot to it and take care of it. But is that your experience, that the Town of Bath Community Garden is a better garden than what you have on Pius Ridge, or?
Way better.
Yeah, so it's not just me, right?
No, I mean, we had the crappy clay soil,
Right.
shale,
Right.
when we started, and it's taken us 12 years to get beautiful
Yes.
soil out on our place, with him constantly doing
Right.
compost and adding things and shredding the leaves and grass clippings and, the whole deal. It all goes back into the garden. But this soil there is sandy loam. It's beautiful. And the soil tests came back beautiful, and we're like, wow, this place is great. So we just keep tweaking it and adding more organic matter, because the one thing it lacks is something to hold the water, because it's sandy.
Yeah.
And so we keep adding that organic matter every year.
So that sandy soil is it especially good for what? Carrots? Like carrots do really well there?
Yeah, carrots do great. The sweet potatoes just did amazing. I mean, we had sweet potatoes like footballs. They were amazing.
And how many sweet potatoes did you get about?
I don't know.
You dug that day.
60, 80, 100 pounds, I don't know, something like that. And it wasn't a big plot. It was just one row.
We have a few minutes left, and how did you guys get to Berkeley Street? Let's do a little bit about Joyce and Lee. When and how did you come here?
I moved here in 1986, took up residence in our present location, And I moved from Fairfax County because I wanted to live in the country. I had tried the city life and a bit congested for me, so I wanted more space. And Joyce?
Yeah, and I came in 2001 and moved in with Lee. I was living in Virginia at the time. And then we met, and we had so much in common. It was just like, oh, wow, amazing. So he had this empty canvas, and I was just like, oh. So I started planting seeds. And I've been a gardener since the early 70s. So that's my thing. I just love gardening and starting seeds.
And Joyce, you are more than a gardener. To give us a little bit about your work history and what you've been doing in your life.
Well, I've been an artist, so I've done a lot of different art forms, painting, drawing, ceramics. I did beadwork, wire wrapping, all kinds of
What's bee work?
seed bead work with little tiny
beadwork.
seed
Okay,
beads. Yeah. And then I've always been a gardener, and an herbalist, and so studying the herbs and the native plants has always interested me, and the wild plants. So I eat a lot of the wild plants that grow around us too, and I educate people at the community garden too about the wild plants and what they can eat, because the wild foods are so nutritious. They're way more nutritious than even our spinach that we grow. So
I found in the garden yesterday, and I actually had to look this up to see whether I could eat it. Tell me if I did something wrong. It looked like broccoli, and when I looked it up, I think I identified it as wild mustard.
yeah, it's blooming right now.
And
Yeah.
I grabbed like 3 plants of it, sauteed some onions, chopped it up, and did it. And it was that, although I put some hot sauce with it too. But here's the thing, I'm gonna be okay eating
You're
it.
going to be okay.
And was it good for me?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, but it is very intense
yes, it was intense.
and kind of bitter.
Well, it wasn't actually.
Was it?
It was young, so it was sort of, but it had that bite to it.
Yeah.
But you also, I wrote something about you a couple years ago.
Oh, the soap making.
Yes.
Yes.
So are
yes.
you
I'm
still doing
making
that?
soap, yes. And I use the herbs from the garden in my soap. And it's all natural. I use olive oil and coconut oil and herbs from the garden to make the soaps.
Do you do honey?
I used to do a honey soap, but I don't anymore.
Do you do honey straight up? Just edible honey?
Eating honey?
Yeah, eating honey.
Oh, I love honey. Yeah,
But do you
I
make
would love
it?
to have
Do you make
bees.
it? You don't have bees.
No, that's another whole adventure that I haven't gone into, because the more I read about it, the more I see that it's very complicated and it's a very hard world to raise bees right now. They're going through such hard times.
Yeah. Is there any chance, by the way, that food from the Town of Bath Community Mart or Community Garden will end up being sold at the farmers market? Or are you thinking just keep it free?
We like it free, you know, and I want to keep it free.
Why is it hard for Americans to get their head around that? What is it? Can you give us the nutshell version of that?
We're just not used to that possibility.
Of
This
people
is-
helping people.
Yeah.
And having something for free. I mean, it's just like we are conditioned to believe that we need to have an exchange of some sort. And that's a challenge. It's a mental challenge. We've seen some people break through that, and others still are suspicious, like there's got to be a catch, and there is none.
Yeah, we appreciate if you help pull some weeds, but you don't have to.
There are actually people who come to the community garden, look at it, maybe want some berries or lettuce or cucumbers, are told it's free, and feel obliged to give some money. That's okay, right? You can donate to the community.
Yes, and I'm actually going to have a jar this year for donations so people can add something to
Like
it
a
if
tip
they want
jar.
to. Yeah,
Okay, so there will be a tip jar,
yes.
and that's okay. But
yeah,
it's
on
also,
the days when we're there, yeah.
Lee, probably 2 minutes left. What do people need to know about you? What was your life's work?
My life's work was an auto technician, and I specialized in electrical diagnostics. When I retired out of the automotive trade, I just simply came over to another field, and that's soil. I'm diagnosing soil, and I'm problem solving. So, you know, it's a very similar process. I just did a shift. So that's my background. Is I was
How long were you an auto technician?
40 years.
And you don't have to go to Mike's to fix your car. You fix your own car.
That's correct.
That's pretty cool.
It's great.
And do you miss being an auto technician?
No, I do not.
Why don't you miss it?
It was a job. It wasn't a hobby. I've even attempted to make it a hobby, and I'm still not quite there where I can have fun with it.
You like soil more than you like carburetors.
Yes.
All right. Well, okay. One more time. Well, to end this about the community market, people can come and pick food. When?
Mondays and Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m., beginning May 15th, not until then. We're doing Wednesdays and some other odd work days up until May 15th.
And if people want to volunteer or donate and get in touch with you, they can get in touch with you through Facebook, which is
Town of Bath Community Garden.
or through your email, which is
JoyceMorningstar@gmail.com.
Thank you both, and thank you for the community garden, a great public institution here in Morgan County. And thank you for watching This Week in Morgan County.